I'm David Fell, and I'd like to introduce two new sequences of well-known structures that have been named the Ffellonic forms and the Canalice duals. They are based on the geometry of one of the most fascinating of all geometrical collections, the 5 platonic solids. What makes the platonic solids so special is that they are formed of pure geometry, as each of them has the same angles, the same edge lengths, and the same regular face throughout. As a consequence, over the centuries, this pure geometry has been of interest to the greatest of minds, with many attempting to align it with the pure symmetry of nature. However, even after all this time, a lack of understanding still continues. In fact, all that is essentially known about them can be written on one sheet of paper. The pure geometry of the platonic solids has never been fully explained because of a traditional definition which restricts their number to 5 polyhedral shapes. To comprehend the full picture of the pure geometry, it has to be realized in all geometrical forms and not just polyhedra. To achieve this, it has to be first accepted that the platonic solids are not formed of 5 shapes, but 2 distinct progressive series, each being formed of 3 structures. One being composed of equilateral triangles with increasing numbers of them meeting at each vertex, while the other having 3 edges meeting at each vertex, with their faces having increasing number of edges. As it is impossible to fully extend the platonic solids by increasing the number of edges or faces and still maintain its pure geometry, a new set of rules has to be applied that will allow this. These rules are not based on their geometry, but on their source, which is the reality of the following 3 arrangements of spheres. In the first arrangement, each sphere is attached to 3 others, in the second to 4 others, and in the third 5. In the construction of the platonic solids, there are 2 important geometrical points in these arrangements of spheres, one internal and one external. The internal point is the center of each sphere. When these points of adjacent spheres are connected by lines, the tetrahedron, octahedron, and icosahedron series is created. The external point is the central point between spheres and is formed by the tangent intersections of the sphere's touching points. So, by connecting lines between these points, the inverted tetrahedron, cube, and dodecahedron series are created. The defining feature in the 3 sphere arrangements is the number of spheres that consistently surround each one. The following are the sphere layouts which form these arrangements and will result in polyhedral shapes. Further structures of pure geometry can be formed when the number of spheres around each one is extended. The following 12 layouts of spheres, which, if repeated throughout a structure, will maintain the pure geometry associated with the platonic solids. The resulting forms created will range from a single edge to the densest space-filling honeycomb possible. The following represents an outline of the respective sphere arrangements of which they are formed. As with the platonic solids, 2 dual series can be created from these sphere arrangements, one based on the center of spheres and the other on the central point between the spheres. So instead of 5 platonic solids, we now have 2 series of 12 structures created by pure geometry. The one based on the centres of spheres and composed of equilateral triangles is called the Ffellonic forms, while the one based on the central points between spheres is called the Canalici duals. So, by redefining the rules for the application of pure geometry, it can be fully extended to create further forms, and there is a better opportunity to understand the pure symmetry of nature.